Hello everyone, my name is Shreya and I am a legal intern at Lexis & Company. I am pursuing BLLB Honours from Law College Dehradun, Uttaranchal University. I am currently in 7th semester. I am glad to have this opportunity of interning at Lexis & Company, because of which I am able to present with you guys this video. So the purpose and topic for this video will be administrative tribunals. Basically this is the part 3 on topic administrative tribunals. I have discussed some of the topics in my previous videos, so I'll continue with the other. So yeah, let's begin. So first of all, we'll discuss about the Administrative Tribunals Act 1985. This Act provides for all the matters falling under the clause 1 of Article 323A. According to this Act, there must be central administrative tribunal at the center, and there must be a state administrative tribunal at for all the states. And to be very brief about it, this tribunal, the tribunal is competent under this act to declare the constitutionality of the relevant laws and the statutes. And the central tribunal, as you know by the name, that central administrative tribunal will decide upon the cases relating to all over the India. However, the state tribunals will decide upon the cases respective to their states only. So what was the objective for the establishment of administrative tribunals? We have discussed this earlier also. The main objective for the establishment of these administrative tribunals was to relieve the congestion in the judicial courts, because as we all know, they are overburdened with a lot of cases, and to reduce that burden it was established. And the second point is that to provide for a speedier disposal of the disputes relating to the service matters. So these were the two important objectives behind the establishment of these administrative tribunals. So what is the applicability of this act? According to section 2 of the Administrative Tribunal Act 1985, this act applies to all the central government employees except the members of the naval, military or the air force or any other armed forces of our country. And it will also not apply to any officer or servant of the Supreme Court or the High Court. Third, it will also not apply to those persons appointed to the secretariat staff of either house of the parliament. Otherwise, it will be applicable on all the persons except these which I have mentioned. So what will be the, moving on to the next topic, what will be the composition of these tribunals and what will be the bench for the cases? So it is mentioned in section 4 of this act, which says that each tribunal shall consist of a chairman, vice chairman, judicial and administrative members, and every bench must have at least one judicial and one administrative member, so as to decide upon both the type of the cases. So, and yeah, the benches of the central tribunal shall central tribunal shall ordinarily be placed at New Delhi, Allahabad, Calcutta, Madras, Bombay and other such place as the central government specifies. And the chairman may also transfer the vice chairman or other members from one bench to another bench, that is from the bench of one tribunal to another tribunal's bench. The chairman can transfer such persons, the vice chairman. So moving on, next up here is the qualification and the appointment of the members in the various tribunals. So the section 6 of the Administrative Tribunal Act 1985 lays down the provisions regarding the qualifications and appointment of the members of the tribunals. So to be the chairman of the administrative tribunal, one must fulfill the following qualifications. He is or has been a judge of the High Court, or he has held the office of vice chairman for 2 years, or he has held the post of secretary or to the government of India, or he has held any other post carrying the scale pay of secretary. And for the vice chairman, what are the qualifications? That he is or has been the judge of the High Court, or has for 2 years held the post of secretary to the government, or has or he is holding any other post carrying the same pay scale under the central or the state government, or he has held for 5 years the post of additional secretary to the government of India, or any other post carrying the scales of pay of additional secretary. And for a judicial member, what are the qualifications? That he should have been or is the judge of the High Court, or has been a member of the Indian Legal Services, and has held a post in grade 1 of the service for at least 3 years. And the similar will be the qualifications for the administrative member of the administrative tribunal. Moving on to the term of office, according to section 8 of the Administrative Tribunal Act, the chairman, vice chairman and the other members of the tribunal shall hold the office for a term of 5 years until he or she attains the age of 65 years in the case of chairman or the vice chairman, and in case of the other members until and unless they attains the age of 62 years. 5 years or before it, if they becomes the age of 65 in case of vice chairman and chairman, and in case of other members 62 years of age. So moving on to the resignation and removal of such members of the administrative tribunal. Section 9 of the act mentions about it. The chairman, vice chairman and other members may resign from their post by writing to the president, and this was about the resignation and removal if they want to resign from their post. So moving on to the jurisdiction of the central tribunal, it is mentioned in section 14 of this act, and it states that the central tribunal from the day of the appointment shall exercise all the jurisdiction, powers and authority in relation to the following matters which are within the jurisdiction of other courts except the Supreme Court of India, and those will be regarding the recruitment of any civil service of union or all India service or civil post, and all service matters of the above mentioned employees, and also of the employees of any local authority within the territory of India or under the control of the government of India, and all the service matters of such persons whose services has been placed by any state government or any local government. Basically these are the 3 points: the recruitment of any civil service or the union or the all India service, and all service matters, and by any corporation which is controlled or owned by the government, and at last those persons who have been placed in any state government. So basically all the government employees का placement होना चाहिए. Moving on, the procedure and powers of the tribunals, they are mentioned in section 22 of the Administrative Tribunal Act. I have discussed them with you in the comparison between the administrative tribunals and the judicial courts. However, I'll quickly just tell you about them. Administrative tribunal is not bound by the evidence law and the strict procedure codes, and they shall decide upon the applications and cases made to it as rapidly as possible as they can, and the tribunals have the same powers as vested in the civil codes under the Code of Civil Procedure. And while they are trying a suit with regard to the following subject matters, those are the summoning and the enforcing the attendance of any person and examining him on oath. These are the powers which the civil court has, and also the administrative tribunals have. Summoning and enforcing the attendance of any person, production of documents, receiving evidence on affidavits, and ask for any public record or document, and issuing of commissions for the examination of witnesses, reviewing its decisions, deciding the case ex parte, setting aside any order passed by it ex parte, and at last any other matters prescribed by the central government to it. So this was about it today. I hope you guys have understood, and if you have any question to ask me, please share with me the feedback, and do not forget to like and share this video. So thank you everyone for watching.